Well, hello there. How is everyone? I hope you're all well. You amazing, amazing, beautiful, wonderful people. And it's now Tuesday, and we are fully into the week. No longer can we accuse Monday of being the reason why we have a face like a slapped arse. But anyway, we're getting straight into the meat and potatoes this morning, as we will be talking about the Idaho 4 case. But later on today, in video 2 of 2, we'll be talking about something else. But keep your eyes peeled, because it just is one of those videos later that shows you that corruption does actually exist. And not only does it exist, but the punishment for it isn't really just. And that's why it exists. Intrigued? I bet you are. But anyway, what are we talking about this morning? We're talking about the gag order in the Idaho 4 case. Because a lot of people are talking about this gag order. A lot of people seem to believe that the gag order was put in place for a specific reason, and they're saying that it's warranted. The gag order is warranted. Not only that, but we see it all the time in cases where they are trying to protect the integrity of the case. Well, I put it to you that in the Idaho 4 situation, I don't believe that's why the gag order was put in place. And in fact, I have a suspicion that the gag order was put in place to be weaponized. And what do I mean when I say weaponized? I hear you ask. I also hear the other people in the background going, here we go, this fucking dickhead again. And I get it. And I respect your opinion. So just respect mine. And if you can't respect it, fuck off and don't listen to it. It's that simple. Some people don't like people when they say certain things. They don't like certain channels, but they still come over and they still let you know whether they hating you or really hating you. And I don't really give a fuck. But what I mean by a weaponized gag order is this. I mean that a lot of what we see in the Idaho 4 case, like the 8-hour time delay, for instance, and the flack that Dylan Mortensen has taken over that. Not so much Bethany Funk. I think a lot of people actually wonder whether Bethany Funk was even truly there. They have questions regarding the exculpatory evidence that was put in the background, but we're going to put a pin in that for a second. But with regards to the 8-hour time delay, this has been perpetuated. The issues surrounding that and the feelings towards that have been perpetuated by the gag order. And if they're now turning around and saying that they are protecting the surviving roommates, I don't call them victims, I call them surviving roommates. Do I call them surviving roommates? You can call them surviving roommates because ultimately they survived. But that is dependent on whether you believe that the person went in there to actually hurt them and failed to do so. If you believe this was targeted, and it was targeted to, say, Maddie, then they were never at risk in the first place. Never at risk in the first place. As long as they stayed in the rooms, locked the doors or whatever and stayed quiet, then they were fine. We don't know what happened in that house, but again, you can't have your cake and eat it. You can't say it was targeted and then say that somebody else was in danger. I suppose you can. Anyway, I digress. But this gag order, what I'm trying to say is the gag order hasn't really helped anyone. We talk about the integrity of the case, and could talking about it damage the case? People have turned around and said Bryan Kohberger could have an appeal if this is not gagged. Bryan Kohberger will have an appeal regardless of whether it was gagged or not. If someone goes to trial and they are tried for murder and they are found guilty and they are sentenced to death, you can bet your bollocks to a barn dance that they are going to try and get that overturned. No different than someone who has been offered a life imprisonment situation, like Murdoch, for instance. He's not just sitting there and letting the shit lie, is he? He is trying to get another bite at the cookie. Some may say, even though the outcome is very likely to be the same in that case, because of some of the stuff that happened around it, he's able to have that. He should get it. Some people don't agree with that at all. But look, the Idaho 4 case, I believe, like I say, this gag order has been weaponized. It's been weaponized because the people around this case, the prosecution, the court, they knew that mainstream media would do what mainstream media always does. Now, mainstream media daren't ever say anything positive about someone who's been accused of doing a heinous crime, because that goes against the very nature of what people are at their fundamental core, and that is witch hunters. If someone is accused of doing something, it doesn't matter whether they've done it or not. The mere fact that they have been accused of doing something on a grand scheme means that you would be against the curve if you dare to say, well, hold on a second, what if they didn't do it? You know, the mere thought of that will drive everybody insane. And they knew that. Again, unless you want to say that they're uneducated idiots and they've never ever seen how media have handled any other case in the past. It is just the way things are. We saw a similar situation in the Gary Petito case when the interview room, Chris McDonough, accused the wrong person of being Brian Laundrie. Just because he had been accused of it, he was crucified. And there was quite a backlash, but again, someone walked completely free of it. Again, we see it in this case, and case in point being with Dylan Morton. We know that there's an 8-hour time delay, and some of us are questioning that, and because some of us have questioned that, straight away people are like, well, she's guilty of doing something. She's guilty of doing something. Now, I don't myself personally feel that Dylan Morton had anything to do with the murder itself, but I feel that Dylan Morton knows more than what she is saying. That's all I feel. I feel that she knows more than she's saying in terms of what we've been told she knows, and I feel that perhaps something has been done to leverage her to assist the prosecution in their case against Bryan Kohberger, and perhaps something around all of this, that's not even a word, something that happened in that house around the time of this crime, perhaps the texting between them, perhaps that was leveraged and she decided that she all of a sudden went from no witness to being a witness. Shit happens. And again, if you catch the video later on today, you'll understand exactly what I'm talking about here. But again, I'd like you to tell me what you think. Do you think that this gag order around this case is truly fair and just? It is truly needed if the prosecution have a strong case, which the vast majority of the anti-Bryans and the guilters, they believe. Again, I said this yesterday, people aren't walking around saying, oh, you're fucking idiots, what you've seen is all they need. These people are hell-bent on that. Well, it's one of two things. I either feel that the stuff that's been perpetuated in mainstream media, such as the cannibal stroke, incel stroke, I don't know, woman hater, all of these things are true, and they're somehow going to be proven to be true because they don't see that this is just a cycle of how things are in mainstream media world when there is a heinous crime. Like I said, when it's mainstream media and they're getting paid and they have the big platforms, they are going to be very, very scared of saying anything that would paint or potentially paint a would-be accused or has been accused in some form of good light. You know, maybe he didn't do it. You know, they might try and word their things in a way that makes it look like they're doing that, but you can bet your bollocks to a barn dance that once they've made it look like that, they come around and swing the ball back out of the park. We've seen that with Ashley Banfield on more than once, where she might say, so Bryan Kohberger, he actually helped save someone's life, but, or did he? Or did he actually take so long with the defibrillator that he was actually trying to make sure that she had died before he got back with it? Do you know what I mean? It's all them sort of things. And again, what we've seen recently with the cameras being set up, this, you know, he helped somebody. He was someone's hero. But he was also stalking them with those cameras. See what I mean? It's all the same. But again, I say the gag order, my personal opinion in this situation is that the gag order has been weaponized. They knew what it was going to do, and it's making people say things and get away with saying things. And the vast majority of those things and the people who are being affected by this is Bryan Kohberger. Now, don't get me wrong, it is affecting also the likes of Dylan Morton and Bethany Funk, because we do have these two, the 8-hour time delay and the exculpatory evidence looming somewhere in the background, and it's making people have to run with theories on what possibly happen in the 8 hours, or what could the exculpatory evidence mean? Whereas if that gag order didn't cover things like that, we would know. Everything would be laid. Like Steve Gonsalves said in that clip yesterday, transparency. And that's what this entire process should be, and this is why it should be it. There should be transparency. Everybody in the public should be able to know what is going on so that this shitstorm can't happen. People don't like channels like mine, for instance. Channels like mine wouldn't exist if the gag order wasn't there, because we wouldn't have anything to speculate on. We wouldn't be having to spitball. We would simply just be reiterating what the facts are that have been laid out by the courts. So, yay the gag order. And I'll see you all in the next one.